Hi, I'm Bill Collins with Interstate Truck Driving School. Welcome to today's CDL Safety Tips. We're talking about tires today. Anytime you do a pre-trip inspection, you need to check your tires. The proper way to do this is with a tire gauge. The tire pressure, the maximum recommended tire pressure, is going to be listed on the sidewall of the tire. We'll get a close-up of this so you can see that. The way you check this with your gauge, obviously take the little valve stem off. Now this is a truck tire gauge. Notice it has provisions for getting the tire pressure in two different ways. For the front tire, we simply go straight on it, and I've got 105 pounds of air pressure in this tire, so that one's good. Now let's go back and we'll do our rear tires, our rear duals. We do that a little differently. Our outer tire on a dual setup, the valve stem is pointing in, and that's why we have this part of the tire pressure gauge, so that we're able to go on there and figure out what the tire pressure is of the outer tire. So I'm going to stick the tire pressure gauge on like so and get my reading, and I've got about 95 pounds of pressure in this tire. So I could probably use a few pounds in that one. And then I'm going to check the inner tire. So I go in here to take the valve stem cover off, and if you look in there, you can see the valve stem is pointing out the same way it does in the front tire. So now what I'm going to do is go in there with my gauge, and I've got 95 pounds of pressure on the inner tire, so that's perfect. Be careful I don't drop this. On the sidewall of the tire is where you find the maximum recommended pressure according to the tire manufacturer. So this tire is recommended to be a maximum of 110 pounds cold. Cold meaning you haven't driven the vehicle yet. And so we're at 95 pounds with these two tires. That's perfect since we do not load this dump truck with a heavy load. In fact, 99% of the time there's no load in the truck at all. So 95 pounds of pressure is perfect for our usage with these tires. But that's where you find your tire pressure maximum, is on the sidewall of the tire. Now, the first day with your truck, we're recommending that you use your tire pressure gauge to check your tire pressure. And I do that several times as you become a truck driver, as you start this. But the other thing that I'd suggest you do is look at the sidewall deflection right here at the bottom of the tire after you've checked it. And you'll notice that there's very little deflection. There's no bulge here in the tire, okay? An underinflated tire, there will be a bulge here. And as you get used to being a truck driver, you'll get more acclimated and being able to recognize a low front tire based on this bulge in the sidewall. Now, to be honest with you, I don't have any tires to show you that are underinflated because we keep our tires properly inflated around here. But with more experience, you don't really need to use a gauge on a daily basis as long as you're taking a really good look at that sidewall deflection. And then anytime you're suspicious that the tire pressure might be low, then you pull out your gauge. Now with your rear tires, we'll do what we call thumping them, okay? Again, when you start out with a vehicle that you're not familiar with, you should be checking the tire pressure with a gauge. Every day you do that, though, I'd also have a hammer, a ball peen, something like this, and I thump the tires. And what I'm looking for is the sound and rebound coming off the tire. I'm looking for any disparity, any inconsistency, that one tire sounds differently than another. So again, you start out your career as a truck driver, you check every day with a gauge. After you've done that, thump these tires, okay? And then you're going to get a sense for what that sounds like and feels like. When you become more experienced, then you can rely a little bit on your tire thumping as opposed to using the gauge every single day. It can be done quicker. And this is a very reliable system once you're used to it, once you're used to recognizing the difference in the sound of the tires. I'll go back here to this chassis trailer. It's a little easier for me to thump these tires because the thing is so exposed. But what I'm looking for is a difference in the sound and in the rebound. I don't know if you can hear that, but this inner tire sounds to me like it's a little duller rebound. So just for the sake of experiment, let's check the tires here, okay? So I go down here. My inner tire, it's at 100 pounds. Can't get this off. There we go. The outer tire is at 100 pounds. So, they're both the same. What's the point? Anytime you're suspicious that there might be a difference, then get out your gauge and check it. That's all. So, you can use your tire thumping as a shortcut as long as you have your tire gauge ready to use anytime you're suspicious there might be a difference in the tire pressure. Alright, so that's your pre-trip inspection, checking tire pressure before you leave. Then what you'll see in our video on en-route inspections is that we're recommending you check the tire temperature to make sure that your tires aren't overheated during your trip. The overheating would be caused by an underinflated tire, and you can check that one of two ways. You can put your hand alongside the tire. I wouldn't touch it immediately, but put your hand alongside the tire to feel to see if there's any big heat difference between these two tires and these two tires. Or in the case of the front of a vehicle, the left front versus the right front. An underinflated tire will heat up. You're supposed to do your en-route inspection. First one is supposed to be done within 50 miles. The subsequent en-route inspections are supposed to be done every 150 miles or 3 hours, whichever comes first. So periodically during the day, you should be stopping, walk around your vehicle, and I would be checking tire temperature. Now, there's a little more sophisticated way to check tire temperature. So a cleaner and simpler way to check tire temperature is with an infrared thermometer. I call them a barometer. But what you can do here is you can check the temperature of the tires. You'll see us use this in a couple of other of our CDL safety tip videos. But you can check the tire temperature with this thing without having to touch the thing. No risk, you're not going to get dirty, and there's also no risk that you're going to burn yourself. So this is the tricky way, or the cleaner way, let's say, to check your tire temperature. I've seen these on Amazon.com for as low as $16. So any truck driver should go get an infrared thermometer so that you can check tire temperature cleanly, quickly, easily. Now, when you're doing a pre-trip inspection, if you find a tire that's low, you can fill up air pressure from the air compressor and air tanks on your truck if you have one of these hoses. Now check this out. What I've got is an air hose with my tire air chuck on one end and a glad hand on the other end. So the way you do this, if I had an underinflated tire, I would take the emergency line off my trailer, hook up the glad hand from my air hose to that glad hand, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and push in the red button on the tractor here, and that's going to put air into this air hose. And now what I have is 120 pounds of air pressure in that air hose. So now I can take this air hose and put air in my tires. Works really slick. This hose, you can put one of these together by buying the components for maybe $20. You can buy a complete kit put together already at the truck stop for $40 or $50. I'd have that in your toolkit. So now you can fill up your own tires and you can rescue damsels in distress. Now, if you're adding pressure to a tire, I would recommend you only do that if the tire is deflated to a point of 50%, not 100%. If you come across a tire on a trailer that is completely deflated and off the bead, I wouldn't fill it up with air pressure. And the reason I wouldn't do that is, especially if this is a trailer that you're not familiar with, my concern is that if the tire was underinflated to the point where it overheated enough to structurally damage the tire, you go along and inflate the tire up to 110 pounds of pressure, the tire could disintegrate. It could come apart and injure you. So I'm only comfortable with suggesting that you fill tires with air if they're at 50 pounds, let's say, at a minimum, but nothing less than that. If it's got 10 pounds of pressure in it, I wouldn't fill it up. I'd call a tire guy and have them do it. They're the professionals. I don't want to see you get injured because you're trying to do the right thing and put air in your tires. So to increase it from 60, 70, or 80 pounds up to that 110, I'm okay with that because I don't think that the tire would have been structurally damaged had it been driven with that reduced tire pressure. But if it's deflated to the point where it's off the rim, it might be damaged. You don't want to mess with that. Now, another thing that I would suggest you have in your little toolkit is a tire tread depth gauge. This is the device we use to measure our tires for tread depth. And you remember back to when you got your CDL license, it was important for you to pass your permit test and your road test that you were familiar with the proper tread depth of tires. And people ask all the time, why is it 4/30 seconds for the fronts? Why is it 2/30 seconds for the rears instead of a 16th and an 8th? Well, because the tire industry measures tread depth in 30 seconds. It's just the way they do it, and that's the way the gauge comes. So the way they use the gauge, you put the base of the gauge over the tread, push down the indicator to see how much tread depth you have. And on this front tire, I have 14/30 seconds of tread depth. Okay? That's telling me how much I've got. Let's go back and check my rear tire here. These are some pretty nice new tires that we have on our dump truck that we use for Class B tests. And on the rear tire here, I've got 10/30 seconds. I'm going to double check that. Yep, 10/30 seconds of tread depth on the rear tire, because you can see that it's got some pretty good depth to it. Okay, now let's go check some more tires here. Here's one of our tractors that we use for shift training, and I've noticed that the tread depth is getting pretty minimal on this, so let's check it here. Okay, I've got 3/30 seconds on that tire. So that tire is within 1/32 of needing to be replaced. You can see it's pretty bald there in the center, okay? But believe it or not, there's still a 30-second left in that tire. Let's go look at the front tire of this truck. The front tires are more important, obviously. And on the front tire here, I've got, looks like about 16/30 seconds on the front tire. Because again, you can see it's in pretty good shape. So that's how you check tread depth, is with this little gauge. Stick it in between the tread grooves, push the little indicator down, pull it out, read it, see where you're at. Okay? Well, there you have our CDL safety tips for today, talking about checking tires. You're going to check your tires for pre-trip inspection, you're going to check your tires during your in-route inspection, and of course, at the end of the day, post-trip inspection. Pay very close attention to your tires and you will avoid a lot of problems. Well, again, thanks for watching. I'm Bill Collins with Interstate Truck Driving School. Check us out on the web at www.interstatedriving.com. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, but more important, have a safe day.